So it's now time for Tiago to take the stage.
Hello, everyone. Can you guys listen to me?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm live. Okay, great.
You're
So
live.
it's time to start to talk a little bit about how can you supercharge your app services, okay, to the global scale. Only using, and we're only going to talk about using platform as a service services. So, doing a short presentation about myself for the ones that don't know me yet. My name is Tiago Costa. Work as a cloud architect and advisor. I'm also a trainer, author of some of the Microsoft learning courses, and also a speaker in some events like we have here today. I work as an independent contractor. I'm a Microsoft MVP. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. And then if you guys want to basically to reach to me, just shoot me an email or go to my website or go to my Twitter. I usually prefer, to be honest, the Twitter because I'm like a little bit faster on that than on the email because I get so much email that sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming. First of all, so let's do thank you to our European Cloud Summit sponsor. We're going to have a free ticket for this amazing conference that is in October in Germany. So watch out because at 6 we're going to give away our ticket. What is the agenda for my session here today? So we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Azure overview and the status of Azure today. Then I'm going to talk about what is the business request that I got, that basically led for me to implement this in a customer. And then I thought, well, this is quite nice. I might do a session on this same topic because I think it can help others. And then we're going to talk about basically three big services that we have that compose this design that I did. There are more, okay, but look, I don't have the time to usually talk about all of them in just 1 hour and doing demos. I could just talk about all of them and not doing demos. I think you guys will kill me if I do that. I will kill myself if I was doing that, so that's not going to happen. And then I'm going to talk about the other useful services that we can use to make this happen. So let's talk about Azure. It's currently the second largest cloud provider. We have around 58 regions worldwide. I'm not going to enter in all the numbers here, but we have around 100 plus more than 130 edge sites. So this means that usually Azure is closer to you than what you think. And for example, one of those sites is in Lisbon. Okay, so in Lisbon, there is an edge site. So usually people think, no, that's not. Only other cloud providers have sites in Lisbon, but there is one. It's not a region though. Okay, it's not a region. Yeah. So it's just an edge site, but you're going to use that today. And then in terms of connectivities, I can put 100 gigabits in terms of connectivity. So it is quite fast, okay, the connectivity that I can get with this. And in terms of network, so Azure currently, they have more than 1.6 miles of fiber across the world. So it is really a big network that we have here. It's not a joke. It's not just a child's play that someone, let's just put some servers here and there and there. No, this is like a massive network, and we can use this massive network so that we can scale our applications, okay, and using this super fast network that exists in here. So what about Azure? Everyone talks about Azure regions, this, Azure regions that. I don't know if some of you already have seen an Azure region or not. So here it goes. Okay, so this here is an example, is already a old image, yeah, for sure. It's in 2014, and this is in Virginia, so it's around East US. So you have like some cars there on the right, on the bottom. That's a parking place. As you can see, this is big, right? It looks like those package distribution centers and things like that. It's quite big, and they were building some new buildings there, okay, in the middle of the image, etc. So if you think that this is big, now imagine this site 3 years later. Only the first picture that you see over there, okay, the original picture is just that PC over there. Then they have all these other buildings, and this is already a picture that has around 3 years old too. So now imagine, okay, how this site it is today. I currently don't have a picture. I would love to get a third picture to show in my demos, but I don't have yet because, as you know, Azure for many years had grown more than 100% year over year. Today, well, it's growing a little bit less in terms of percentage wise, but the number of servers, the capacity, the compute capacity almost doubles, okay, every day. And now with the current COVID-19 situation that we needed to put almost everyone in Europe working from home, well, you get the idea. Azure is currently under a lot of stress in Europe because of that. So all the data centers need to grow like yesterday. Okay, so there's a lot of constraints in terms of the capacity that you have and how to manage the capacity. So some people sometimes they basically come to me and they ask me, oh well, but why Azure? Why should I bother? Basically to work with Azure. But well, as a professional, you have to understand that there is a huge demand from customers today. Some geos, they might be starting now. Yeah, for sure that's true for certain geos, but it's huge for us in Europe and also for the US. So if you're in the US or you work for US or Europe, look, today companies, when they design new workloads, they start to think about, how can I put this in the cloud? They don't feel that they should like, oh, let me see if I can do this in the cloud, or should I do this on-prem? That is not the case. They just go and they just say, well, I'm going to put this in the cloud. I need to migrate all this stuff to the cloud. And of course, the second bullet point that we have here, fun to work with. And I consider myself a very fortunate person because I have to confess that I really do what I love to do, or else I could not put the extra hours that I put everything. But it is very cool because every single project that today I do for a customer, it is a different project, even if it's to do in business terms the same thing. Basically because now I have a new service that I might use. Now I have new features on a service that were launched, or stuff that is in preview, and we sometimes in some customers, I can try them out because they understand that that will be cool for them. Okay, so currently I'm doing a project that we're using a bunch of preview features, and the customer is really onboarding on that, and so it is pretty cool, this kind of stuff, okay, that we can do. And of course, the model that we have with the cloud, that is the pay-as-you-go model, that is like awesome. I love that model because with that model, what I can do is I can just pay for the amount of compute that I need on that time. And I don't need to do like I do on the on-prem world, where I need to buy a server or a group of servers to respond to peaks on demand. I don't need that. And you saw, for the ones that were here in the morning, Virgilio showed on the AKS stuff on about scaling things. So that same, okay, scaling mechanism that you have for the AKS, you can also have for other stuff like scale sets, like web apps, okay, like the app service. So all of this, that's the Azure scaling mechanisms that we can. So we don't need to have, I don't know, like 10 servers with 8 CPUs and 128 gigs of memory each and a load balancer on top of that. I just don't need that. For now, let's just say 90% of the time, imagine, I don't know, like 2 servers will be more than enough. So you really don't need all that fancy hardware just laying around there, not doing anything. It's just be there available when you need it. With Azure Cloud, basically, when you need it, you just click in a button, boom, okay, and you get the power, you get the compute capacity that you need. Then we have the cloud models, okay? And very quickly we get that, well, on-prem, yes, we just basically work everything from in our data center, we need to manage everything. Then we go for infrastructure as a service, where there's stuff that I don't need to manage anymore, usually like the hardware, network, virtualization, so all of that is managed by the provider. Then I have the platform as a service, and this is where I want to focus, because that's that kind of services that we're going to talk about today. What we have here is that I don't need to patch my operating system. I don't need to patch the middleware. I don't need to install the runtime. So stuff like, oh yeah, installing updates on my operating system, being Windows or Linux, it is something that I offload that to the provider. And usually I ask customers like, oh, what you get business-wise from installing updates? You don't get anything. We understand that, yeah, it is security, we need to do it, we get a little bit more performance sometimes, okay, but business-wise, you don't get nothing, okay? Usually you don't get anything of doing that yourself. We have the middleware, like, oh, installing patches on ASP.NET Core and things like that. Again, there is no value on that. So if we can offload that to the service provider and we concentrate ourselves in basically doing just our apps and managing our apps, that's where, okay, we can get huge benefits. And then we have software as a service that is like Office 365, okay, that basically we can just get a tenant and we can just start working with that, but we just don't need to create any code of our own. Then, yeah, if you want to customize it, you can do it, yeah, but not for the workload to work, okay, that is not needed. Then this was the challenge. So let's give a walkthrough here into the challenge. So I got a customer that just told me that, look, I need to host, okay, our global customer experience web application. It's a web application that people go there and they see our product manuals, they see our product descriptions. We have an e-commerce web shop. They need to register their products. They need to get firmware updates and things like that from that web applications. And we also have a service layer. So there's a service layer too for this, because they have like a mobile app. Everyone has a mobile app today, right? And that's the service layer for this. And this is currently hosted on-prem. And we have customers all around the world with a bigger focus in Europe, US, and Asia. What we want is fast response times across all the regions, because this is on-prem and this is only hosted in Europe, we're having huge problems with latency. So we need also a solution that can be scalable, and of course, all customers want it low maintenance so that they can pay less money of this one. So I was like, okay, so there's a lot of stuff that we can do. So we basically started, let's create a web app. And this application also suffered because, look, if sometimes you go to a webinar or something and people tell you that, oh, if you have a web app on-prem, you just migrate it to web apps and will just work. Well, that's not true, okay? There are some things that you might need to change. You need to analyze that. So we did that for this web application. And then after some tweaks, I have to confess, it was not that big because the web application was already well built. Okay, the team was good in building that. So we decided, let's go for Azure App Services, because the low maintenance here will be, we're going to get this, because the customer originally, they wanted to create Azure virtual machines for this. And then I told them, wait, no, let's not do that, because then I need to create load balancers. I need to basically manage all of that. So I'm not going to fulfill the low maintenance thing that you guys are telling me. So I'm not going for that. So with With Azure Web Apps, I get a scalable platform to host web applications and REST services. I can deploy here .NET apps, .NET Core, Java, PHP, Python, you name it. Also comes that in the back, I can also have Windows or Linux support. I can integrate this with development tools like Code, Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, Eclipse, Azure DevOps, GitHub, and I also support custom domains, which was one of the things that my customer had, was like, oh yeah, we don't want those Azure domains that we see sometimes, some apps having like Azure websites.net. I was like, yeah, okay, we're going to get that, but your users don't need to see it. You can have a custom domain with SSL, all of that in here. So the upselling points of this that I had for this customer was something like this. I have a global data center footprint going to Azure. You don't get that, okay, with on-prem, you can get that with on-prem for sure. You can just start to create data center. Microsoft did it. Amazon did it. GCP is doing so. We can also do it. You just need to have the budget for that. Of course, this customer, hey, their business is not IT, so they're not going to do something like this. I also get Azure AD integration, which was for them was like super important too, because they wanted to switch their authentication provider because they were having a custom authentication provider that they built. They were storing usernames and passwords, and they wanted to quit that part. Also, built-in auto-scale load balancing. So again, response to this, high availability without a patching, because you're patching this, but you don't lose availability on your machine. So stuff still works. Also backups, the app service, the app gallery marketplace that I have, and of course deployment slots. That's a cool feature. So features highlight that I had for this customer: the data center coverage, the option to use Azure Functions, because we have like some background workers and things like this that I use a mix of functions and web jobs. The custom domains SSL, the auto scaling, the deployment slots that allows me to just test some branches that I have in Git, and easy to set up, continuous integration and continuous deployment with Azure DevOps. That's what we are using there, and integration with other services like CDN and Traffic Manager and Front Door. Okay. So in terms of tiers, because the first thing that we do is we need to create an app service plan. And with that comes, what is the tier? I'm not going to enter here in the dark details of all of this, okay? But we have basically three big categories here. It's the free shared, that both of them are using shared hardware. So that's mean there's a host somewhere that will have your web app plus other person's web apps. So it's not only your web app that is going to be there available. So others, okay, will also be there available. Then we have dedicated hardware that we have basic, standard, premium, and we also have premium V2. We can get from 3 instances up to 30 instances in the same plan. And of course, if you have instances, we have to have a load balancer. But this already includes a built-in load balancer, so you don't have to worry about that. We get traffic manager and deployment slots and backup support starting on the standard. So to be totally honest with you in here, look, I never ever start to create stuff in free, shared, or basic. I usually go for standard, has the lowest entry point for me because of the features that I get. Like having like auto scaling, for example, which is one that's not in here. You only get auto scaling in the standard too. So this is the kind of features that clearly leads you, okay, to go for the standard. Today, I also say my customers say, look, check the standard versus the premium V2 prices, because you might get a surprise over there. Because sometimes premium V2, it's kind of almost the same price as standard. Okay, so just have a look at that, because sometimes I just go for premium. And then we also have another one that's called the isolated. That's a very special one. It's called App Service Environments, and we create this. We can get auto scaling, deployment slots, backups, all the shebang here, and we get VNAT isolation. And that is like super important for some customers, is that they clearly need to have their web application private. So only their customers from only their network can get access to this. So they do not want this open with like something.azurewebsites.net. They don't want to have a public endpoint available. Okay, so we have to have this. And VNet isolation is a very cool feature, but this comes with a catch, okay? Is that there is some maintenance fee, and I'm quoting right now the Azure documentation, that you have to pay. That maintenance fee is usually quite high if you're just running a small application, okay? So if you're just running one and it's a small app, so really check out that. Maybe you can find other options on the Azure cloud. Okay, that doesn't need to be web applications and the app service. So like I was saying, so we have in terms of service availability, we have this available in the public cloud. Okay, the Azure App Service. We have the App Service environments that give you the privacy. But still, we also have another option that is even more private, which is running app services, but on Azure Stack. So for people that don't know Azure Stack brings you the power of Azure to your own data center. So you can basically kind of install a piece of Azure, okay, in your, it's just not the same thing. You don't have all the services. Like app services, you have it, but you don't get all the features. The features will come eventually, but they take their time to come. Other services, they're never going to be in here, like CDN, for example, where it doesn't make sense to have a CDN here. So that kind of services we're not going to have. We have features like app settings. You can define app settings here, like connection strings or traditional app settings. This one will override, okay, your configuration files. This example here is clearly from an ASP.NET Core application, but hey, look, you could just use something from Python, Java, etc. It will be similar to this. And then the auto scaling feature that I was telling you. So this is like, for me, it's like one of the cool features that I have when I'm using the cloud, is that I can just pay a very, very, very small amount of money to run my app during 90% of the time, but those 10%, when I have a huge load, is where I need more capacity. We can do monitoring on performance metrics like CPU, memory, kind of depends on how does your workload behaves. So for example, I have a workload that behaves, it runs out of CPU way quicker than memory. So basically, I put it basically some monitoring on the CPU, and when it reaches a certain amount of percentage, I just tell them, hey, look, mate, I just need one more, okay, instance, and boom, we get one more instance. You can put a min and a max instance threshold there so that you don't get a huge bill, okay, if you don't control this quite well. So you can do this kind of stuff. Also, you can also monitor based on the queue, like a service bus queue, for example. The number of messages that you have there, those are quite useful. If you're using, for example, workers, okay, a worker need to process a PDF, for example, and you have thousands of messages in the message queue to be processed, and you're getting more messages, okay, than the ones that you're processing. So basically, yeah, or you wait, or you need more compute capacity. So you can just tell like, hey, if the count is bigger than 1,000 messages, boom, okay, I need another instance. So with all of this, let's just do here a short demo, and I just need to find my mouse. Okay, so my mouse is there, but how awesome this is. Okay, so let me just connect here the cable. No. There you go. Are you guys still seeing me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, because I got here a bunch of warnings and things in my computer because I connected the mouse. Okay, So let me open here the Azure portal for everyone, and let me just put this slightly bigger so that everyone can see. So I'm just going to create here a new resource, okay? And I'm just going to say I want a web app, right? So let's just type web app and see what happens. Okay, so web app, I'm going to do create, and I have my subscription, I have my resource groups. I already created a resource group for this so that we don't lose that much time. And I'm just going to say global Lisbon, okay, and I'm just going to put EU in the end for Europe. Then you can choose, hey, it's code. You can also deploy Docker containers in web apps. I'm going to tell them, hey, it's a .NET Core 3.1 app operating system. I will choose Windows on this one because I'm going to use a feature that is only available in Windows. It's still not available in Linux. And I'm doing this, and then I need to create a plan. So this here, okay, it's the plan. It's what you're going to pay. I can create a plan, and then I can have more than one web app inside the plan. I'm not going to pay more for that. Of course, this is the capacity that I have. You're limited to this, okay? So if we get a lot of traffic, I'm sure this will not handle itself. So I'm just going to change the size here because I prefer to use here basically a premium. Then look, you have a bunch of other options in the monitoring and tags. Again, I'm not going to lose time with this. And I'm going to create here, okay, a web application. And then, man, great, okay. I had to add some code. I could just deploy some code to this web app. And then, boom, my web application was deployed in Europe. I was like, great. But I also have customers, remember, in the US and in Asia. So I'm like, no. So I need to add more web apps. So I'm going to add a second web app in the US. So same process, okay. Oops, sorry. Create a resource, okay. Web app. This one I'll be a little bit faster creating because it's just basically the same thing. I'm just going to drop it, okay, in the same resource group. I could choose another one if I wanted. And in here, I'll just say USA or US. I select again the same, okay, runtime, and I'm going for East, okay, East US. And then let me change the size of this, and I'm going for a PV2, create, and now I'm going to click, okay, create. There you go, okay. And basically, we are now, okay, creating a second, okay, a second web app. So if I go to resource groups and I go to my resource group, which is this Global Azure Lisbon, well, you see here that I have here, okay, some resources. Okay, this is my app service plan, and this is my, okay, basically web app. The rest of the stuff, it's a virtual machine and a VNet that I created so that I can do a test in the end of the demo, okay? But there you go, okay? So we have, this is the European one. In a while, okay, the one from the US will show up. And if we click here, if we click browse, hey, you can see this amazing message, hello app service developers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going for development tools. I'm going to the app service editor, and I'm just going to change this, okay? I'm just going to change that message. And I'm just going to add Europe so that we make sure that we know, okay, yeah, I'm seeing that from the European version. So I'm sure that this is small for everyone, but I'm just adding here, okay, Europe. I'm just doing this. So now if we go here, if we click browse again, you'll see, okay, so see, there's the code that I changed on this. This is just a static page, okay, but that's not the purpose of our demo today. So I see this Europe, so let's do the same thing, okay, for the one in the US. I'm sure the US one is already created. Yeah, there you go. This is the US one, so let's do the same thing. And by the way, I don't have almost anything prepped, okay, pre-prepped or something, so I'm just doing everything from scratch. So there you go. And I'm just changing this, and I'm just going to put United States on this. There you go. Oops. There you go. I can just change this. And by the way, this app that I'm using to do this is quite dangerous. Okay, so be careful using it. You can just mess up your app pretty quickly with that. So see, this one is basically showing USA. So going back to my presentation, where's my presentation? There you go. So we are doing the demo. That's great, but look. So what I have now built, it is something like this. Okay. So I didn't build the queue and the function app, but you guys get the idea. But I have in West Europe a web app inside a web inside an application plan, and I have the same thing in the US. Now imagine, okay, that I'm here, okay, somewhere in here in the internet. I go to the Azure DNS, okay. They said, yeah, you want to grab where? West Europe. I go here, but I need to have the endpoint of this. If I wanted to grab the one in the US, I need to go to that endpoint, which is a different endpoint. Look, this is never going to work with anyone, right? So this is why we have another product that I could also use traffic. I'm using traffic manager. I could use like Front Door, and there is other options too in the market, but I could use traffic manager. Traffic manager will do is allow you to control the distribution of the user traffic that you have between service endpoints. I can have some examples here: an Azure virtual machine, an app service, or external endpoints that you can have as endpoints. It's pretty easy to do this. What are the benefits of using this? Clearly improves the availability of your critical applications. So if you have a critical application, if you have one region down, look, you can always have your app deployed to another region, and that will be able to respond. Also improves the responsiveness of a high performance application, which is our case. Also, I can do service maintenance without downtime, because I can just basically do maintenance in one of the apps. The other ones will still respond. And I can combine on-premises with cloud-based apps. So I have one customer that they have a web app that is on-prem, but then they have a backup app that is on the cloud. And we were using back in the days Traffic Manager to do this. Just remembering that right now that customer doesn't have that like that anymore. They are already moved only to Azure. And of course, distribute traffic for large and complex deployments, which also includes ourselves. So how do I do this? I create a Traffic Manager profile. Then I'm choosing a load balancing method. There is a bunch of them. I have ones that's called geographic, priority, and I have others that call performance. I'm going to demo those. And then I add endpoints to my Traffic Manager profile. So in my case, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add those two web apps as endpoints of my Traffic Manager. And if I want, I can add a CNAME record, okay, to a domain to my Traffic Manager endpoint. So you're going to see that working too. So imagine this case in here. I have, okay, in point number 1, what I have here is basically my customer goes to a browser and just say, I want to reach the website that's called www.contoso.com. Goes to a DNS server. I have a CNAME record that points to this one, contosoweb.trafficmanager.net. I get to my Traffic Manager. Then based on the algorithm that you have on your Traffic Manager, it will decide which of one of those 3 endpoints that I have here selected for you. And then basically sends that information to you again. And then your browser, okay, will go directly to that endpoint. But you still see in here, it's www.contoso.com. This is just a DNS redirection, okay, nothing more. So let's see how the algorithm works. So this is the failover algorithm. So I have priority. So I define it 3 endpoints. This is priority 1, 3, and 2. So if priority 1 doesn't work, guess what? I'm going to be redirected to priority 2. But if priority 1 is working, all the traffic goes to priority 1, and that's it. Okay, no traffic goes to the others. And of course, if priority 2 doesn't work to in here, hey, you go to priority 3. And now let's believe that priority C will never be offline, okay? Now, another example is the geographic or performance. So there's a difference between one and the other, is that performance is just a simpler one to implement. So imagine that that user that you see here, okay, it's a user that is somewhere in Europe. Look, of course, he goes to North Europe. But that's it. Performance, basically, they have latency tables that says that, look, this customer from where he's trying to connect is just faster to connect to North Europe. I can also do geographic, and that's the one that I'm going to demo. With that one, you can force people from Europe go to North Europe, for example, or from people from Brazil go to South Brazil, or people from the US go to, okay, East US. So things like this, so you force people, okay, to go wherever you want. So let's just do a demo, okay, with, let's do a demo on Traffic Manager, okay? So let's go home again. Let's click here. And again, I want a Traffic Manager. So let me try to write Traffic Manager. Ooh, shows up Traffic Manager profile. That might be the one. I just need to drop your name. I'll just say Global Lisbon. Okay, .trafficmanager.net. We check. Green light. That's good. Means it is available. I'm going here, I click geographic, I select what is the resource group where I want to drop this, and I hit create, and that's it. Okay, you're going to see that, boom, this is super fast, okay, to create a traffic manager. By the way, a good point is that I didn't select it, as you saw, a location for this specific, okay, resource, because the traffic manager is considered to be a global resource. It is not bound to a specific region. And now I'm just going to add here, okay, some endpoints. And as you can imagine, I'm going to add the European region, which is this one here. And I need to select regional grouping. So I'm just saying, hey, if the connection comes from Europe, we're good. Okay, I could select here a country, okay? My connection is currently in Portugal, so I'm just going to do this, and I can even do this, okay? And I'm going to add, okay, the second one. I'm just going to call it USA App Service. I select the app that I have in the East US, and I'm going to say here, North America. I'm going to select United States, and it's because in the United States, you know, the United States is special, so they can also select their states. So if they want to do that, and we just press OK. So right now I have my 2 endpoints here. Do I? I have my 2 endpoints here. There you go. And the monitoring status of them, they're still checking the endpoint. So we have to wait, okay, for a moment for this to be in an online status. So because I want to do something more here, so what I'm going to do is, after they are online, I just need, okay, to grab this, okay, DNS name that I have here. And then, boom, if I'm in Europe, I'm going to be redirected to the Portuguese one. Sorry, if I'm in Portugal, like I said, I'm going to be redirected to the West Europe one. If I'm in the US, I'm going to be redirected to the US. But look, no one wants to use this damn name, trafficmanager.net, right? I don't. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to open here another instance of the portal. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to a DNS zone that I have for a domain, which is called azcontoso.com. Okay, this is the zone that I have for this domain. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add a record set on this. Okay, and I'm just going to say, well, www.azcontoso.com, it's going to be a CNAME for this. And ta-da, there you go, it is done. Now, my web app's going to grab the connection, but they need to respond to www.azcontoso.com. So I'm just going to open both here. So this is going to be one of my web apps. I need to add a custom domain to them. So I just go, this is the European one, as you can see over there. add custom domain, and you just type www.azcontoso.com. I press validate, and because I'm connected through the traffic manager, boom, 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 done, and I added a custom domain. Okay, and ta-da, my custom domain is there, but oh, oops, I have a problem here, not secure, don't like it. I don't like this, so let's add a binding to this. So I have a TLS SSL binding. So this is my domain. Yeah, okay, that is. I can upload a PFX cert if you have it, or I can import an app service certificate. That's the one that I want because I have 1 year for that domain. Awesome. This is I already have bought, okay, a domain for this. So this is why I have, this is another Azure resource that I already have. It's called an app service certificate that you can buy. And it's a wildcard one, by the way. So I just press OK. Now it's going to do, okay, what is the binding that you want to do? So it will just show up now. It takes a while. Okay, so I'm just going to say this. It's going to be a SNI SSL. And I just press validate. And then, boom, we have a green light. I'm going to do exactly, okay, the same thing now for the US, okay, version of our application. So contoso.com, I press validate, okay, add a custom domain. Now I'm going to do the binding. So basically the same steps. There you go. And now this is the thumbprint that I want, SNI SSL. And there you go. Okay, it is done. Now I don't need this. I don't need this tab. I don't need this tab again. I'm back at the traffic manager. And you can see that now my monitoring status with all these extra configurations that I was doing, bam, it's online, all of them. So, hey, I can just use the browser here, and let's use it in private so that you guys don't feel that I'm basically cheating here in some way. So I'm just going to do www.azcontoso.com. Okay, it's not secure, so let me even put, okay, HTTPS, okay, doing like this, and boom, you see. And I'm seeing Europe, by the way, okay, which just kind of makes sense. Remember, I said, hey, Portugal connection, yeah, go to West Europe. Yeah, that's the West Europe one. That's like awesome. And now let's go to the US. Who wants to do a trip to the US right now in the middle of the COVID thing? Boom, we are in the US, okay? So this is a virtual machine that I built, that I basically built before our demo. It's just a virtual machine. I'm doing an RDP there. That virtual machine, it's hosted in the US. So if I use the same domain, https contoso.com, bam, okay? As you can see there, I'm seeing exactly the same, but it says USA. So this is really doing the balancing thing that we talk about, right? Awesome, right? So it is pretty cool. And look, it is so easy, okay, to build something like this. It is literally not that hard, okay? How we are in terms of questions, Virgilio? Have questions or?
So we have a couple. So I'll be reading one for you now, and the others, actually, me and Pedro have been like kind of replying. It's just like quick questions. So the one that you have now is if you have a CI/CD pipeline, for example, Azure DevOps for your app, do you need to trigger one release deploy for each web app instance and again for each region, or is there an easier way?
No, so currently there is not an easy way. So you have to deploy, okay, to each one of the regions. You can do in a release pipeline just one that deploys to several, okay, with several tasks that will deploy to each one of the web apps. But you have to do that. There is not a. I understand the question. I also tried to find that. I even kind of asked that as a feature. Okay, that is when I have scenarios like this, I want to hit a button and boom, everywhere in the world, everyone has the same app like this. Because like the example that I did here, we're never going to do this. I'm never going to have one app different than the other. Okay, that's usually not the business case around this. So, but yeah, that doesn't exist. But it's easily, okay, we can configure this, but we just have to repeat the steps. And it's quite boring when you have 7, okay, locations like I have in one of my customers. Yeah.
Yeah. With the CI/CD, yeah, like Tiago mentioned, you can jump onto that, and if you use containers, that is a non-issue. By the way, one other question, and probably you can actually show that is, can it make redirect from HTTP to HTTPS or from azcontoso.com to www.azcontoso.com?
So, okay, so the HTTP to HTTPS redirect, okay, that's a very easy feature in terms of app services, okay? So I didn't implement that because I forgot, but usually I do that. So you just need to, in here, in TLS SSL, you just need to click here and just put this to on. And if someone tried to go to HTTP dot blah, blah, it's going to be always redirected to that. So it's a non-app, okay, specific thing. You don't have to write any code. It's just this configuration in here, okay? And the other question was, sorry?
The other question is, do the same thing, so the redirect, but from, like, example, azcontoso.com to www.azcontoso.com, or the other way around.
Okay. Well, that one I could add, okay, here, another custom domain, okay, and I could add, okay, now the azcontoso.com domain. So without the www, and this web app, okay, will also respond to that. Okay, so we could do that. I'm also seeing some questions here about Let's Encrypt, right?
Yeah, we've covered those ones.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know if you guys know, I didn't know if you guys answered this, because it's a really new feature, is that now you can get free certificates.
Yeah.
You don't need you don't okay, you don't need Let's Encrypt anymore, okay? Because if you go here to TLS SSL, I think it is private key certificates, and now in here, create an app service managed certificate, because I already have a custom domain. I could just get a free certificate in here, okay? The only caveat of that, by the way, is that this is only allowed for non-naked domains, okay? So naked domains is the azcontoso.com, so without anything on the left, okay? But that will be the case, okay? But and it's free. You don't pay them, okay? It's pretty cool. And like our for example, yeah, the global Azure.pt, which is our website for the event, I was using that, okay? So I was not paying for that SSL certificate. And look, it's free. I got one, okay? Why not, right? And without the configurations that I need to do for Let's Encrypt, okay? Cool.
Tiago, do you know those certificates are star.azcontoso.com? Or just...
No. They are specific to the domain name. They are not wildcard, no.
Okay.
No. Wildcard, if you want a wildcard certificate, you can go here, app service certificates, okay? And then in here, okay, but these ones are paid.
Yeah.
Okay, if you go, that's the one that I was using this one here. So in here, you can go, and then in the SKU of the certificate, you can choose if you want a wildcard or not. And the price is not that big. Look, it's 250 euros per year, and you get a wild card. Look, for a company, if your company can't support 250 euros to get a certificate for what it gets, okay, yeah, there is something wrong with that company, to be honest. But that's my idea, okay? But this is and this is pay as you go, and there are other providers like DigiCert, for example, okay, VeriSign, etc., that they also have, and if you buy them in bulk, you pay way less money than 250 euros per month for sure. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get back here to our slides. So I still have one service that I want to talk about very quickly, which is about Azure CDN. So Azure basically content delivery networks, and we can build this and we can serve static content from like Azure Storage, okay, from cloud services, app services. I have a separated host name, and I have several POP locations around the world. Those locations are called POP because point of presence. Okay, so that's basically that's what we have in here. Also, what we get with this is we get DNS, and it casts to the content closer to the users, and that's like super cool because I'm now going to use some of those 130 edge sites that I talked in the beginning. Okay, like the Lisbon one, for example, serves DNS. And if I choose, I can have also other providers. I have the Microsoft provider, and I can also choose Verizon or Akamai networks. So one or the other, you just choose one. Of course, if you go to Verizon, you get extra features because they have a premium tier, but it's just check what is the stuff that you can get. So the big advantage of this is that I'm going to do a demo, and I'm going to choose an Azure Storage account. I'm going to upload an image there, and you're going to see that then that image is going to be served through the CDN. So it's going to be cached all around the world instead of everyone needing to go, okay, to a specific region in Europe. There is even people, okay, and I have another session on this that is kind of creating a static website, okay, with Azure and paying almost nothing per month. There are like static generators like Hugo, okay, for example, and then you can host them on Azure Storage, and then because Azure Storage supports static websites, and then you can have stuff like an Azure CDN on top of that, and you get SSL, you get custom domains, you get a website. No one notices a static website that is in a storage account, and you get super low speeds accessing that. It's static, okay, and then it's all around the world cached. It is amazing, okay, to have something like that. So let's see this. So you
Tiago,
have, yeah.
Quick question that we got. Do Microsoft have free training and certifications for cloud like Oracle?
Oracle has free training. I didn't knew that. So Microsoft, what they have is the Microsoft Learn. Okay, so Microsoft Learn is a great resource that you can have where you have a bunch of free resources. Certifications, you have to pay for them. Okay, so usually a certification exam, if it's a regular one, not a fundamentals, I think you pay, I think it's 165 euros per exam, and then you, depending on the track that you want, for example, if you want to be an Azure administrator or an Azure developer, it's just one exam, and you get the certification. There's another one called Azure Fundamentals that is cheaper. I don't know the price by heart. I think it's 99 euros in Europe, $100 in the US, something like that. So you can see that. But I can leave. Okay, I see Fernando that is doing the question. Yeah. I can in the end of my session, I will just drop some links in the chat window. So keep your eye on the chat window, and I will drop some links there. Okay, I think Pedro already did for the Learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will put some other stuff for the other stuff. Okay, cool. So how does the Azure CDN here works? So basically, what we have here is that, well, I don't want this. I want my laser. So I have some content. I'm just going to drop that content in an Azure Storage account. Then I have a client in South Korea. He goes through the CDN and he gets to the Seoul POP location. So this is a POP location. Of course, if the file is not cached here, it's going to be copied on the fly. Now it's cached. By default, it is cached for 10 days by default, but you can tweak this, okay, if you need that to tweak this. So let's do the CDN stuff. I already have a storage account, so I'm not going to bother you guys creating a storage account. Let's just review our storage account. So I have a storage account that is called Global Azure Done. Then I have a demo container, and in my demo container, okay, I have a blob here, okay. And if you see this, oops, didn't copy it, okay, copy. And if you see this, okay, boom, I'm seeing this, but look, from all around the world, I needed to go, okay, all the time to my storage account, which is in West Europe, by the way. So if you're in Asia, etc., you need to go there. Hey, look, we just don't want that, okay? I don't want that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a resource. So I'm going to type CDN and oops, well, there you go, CDN, create, and I'm going to create my CDN profile, okay, demo CDN, okay, and then I could just say, well, this goes to the Global Azure Lisbon Resource Group, and then I could just choose Standard Microsoft. So this is the tiering pricing that I have. This is the profile. Now I need to create an endpoint. The endpoint is the thing that's going to have a domain name. So I'm just going to say global, okay, global Azure Lisbon, okay, and there you go. For this one, I could just say, well, storage account, and I can say that's the storage, okay, account that I want, and you just press create. Now this is going to take, okay, around 10 to create. This is like 1-2 minutes. But then it takes more than 10 minutes, like usually like 15 minutes, to propagate all across the world. For time concerns, okay, Tiago already have done this. It's like the cooking shows, you know. Now I just give you already a created CDN profile that is called gab lx-cdn, where I have an endpoint called Global Azure LX from Lisbon done. So if I just copy the endpoint now, and I just drop the endpoint here, and I press demo, I do demo, and I do the name here of this. I don't know the name of this by heart. So if I do this, I just press boom, and there you go, okay? So this, I'm serving this static image, which is an animated GIF, okay, through, okay, this, okay, URL that I'm using over there, okay, our Azure CDN. And yes, look, of course, before you guys do me, the question is, can I have custom domains? Yes, you can, okay, sorry. Yes, you can have custom domains on this. There's an option there, see? Yep. Custom domains. Are you guys there? Yeah, okay.
Yes, we are.
Okay, so it's just basically my cable just, I don't know what happened. So you can add a custom domain here. I'm not, for time constraints, I'm not going to do this, but look, you could just say something like cdn.azcontoso.com, and I just needed to add this, okay, in my Azure DNS, okay, first, because I need to add this first, and then I need to come here, then I click add, and then boom, okay, I have a custom, okay, a custom domain working for my CDN, and this is as easy as building something like this. So going back here,
Tiago, 2 minutes.
Yep, we're fine. So our current status is what? It is something like this, right? So I have, okay, my web applications here. I have a storage account in West Europe that is being served by an Azure CDN, and I have traffic manager here that is serving, okay, to one of the regions or to the other region, okay, if depending from where the connection is coming from. They said also Asia, so imagine there's like a third one in here, or a fourth, or a fifth, or whatever. Other cool services that we could use for this. Storage accounts, we're using Functions, Redis Cache, Cosmos DB, Azure Search, and also Front Door. And then in the end, we could have something bigger, something like this. So this is kind of similar to what we had, but I could have like a data layer here. This is like a SQL, so a relational database, a non-relational database, Azure Search for all the search components, Redis Cache, and doing some geo-replication in here from one region to the other. And imagine this like 3-4 times and things like this. This will create you, okay, huge things that we have. I'll leave you here some resources. Okay, I usually leave. By the way, I'm going to share my slides with everyone, so then there's no need to type these links. So thank you very much. My name is Tiago Costa, and this is how you can supercharge your applications to the global scale.
Thank you so much, Tiago.